There it is, one dynamometer. We just got to get from tucked out between the Super 77 and Super 66 to the outside world. Ophelia's in the way, but I thought I would do it today. It's been a little bit warmer, still above freezing. It's in somewhere in the mid 30s or something like that. So, she should start with a little preheat. And then I'll use the forklift to pick it up once I get it rolled out of the way. But I guess the first thing is make sure Ophelia starts. So let's try that. A nice cold start video. I usually preheat for about 35 seconds, but I'll cut to the chase in the editing. Oh, let's try that. No block heater. We'll see how she does. I can see this was in the shop when I painted Ophelia. There's a pinky purple haze. I should have covered it better. I thought I had stuff over it, but man, it's amazing where that paint will find its way into. Get her back inside. She needs a bath. Oh, my brother wanted to use the forklift a couple days ago, and well, the battery didn't have quite enough oomph. So she's been trickle charging for the last day or so. That should make the difference. I was gonna record the old girl firing up, and just hopped on and turned the key, and so, well, you know, it fired up. Let me get this stuff off from here and open the door. Well, since the head torque is good, guess we'll check some valves. So, number one here should be ready to check. According to the book, it's 19 to 21 thousandths on exhaust and 9 to 11 on intake. So I'm going to set it at 20 and 10. There's probably a good chance I won't have to change anything. So let's see. This one is exhaust. And this one's, ooh, that's tight. I can get it in there, but man, it's tight. We're gonna loosen up just a hair. Okay, so 1.5. So we got to watch number 2 to switch from exhaust to intake. There she goes. Let's see. So we got exhaust, intake. Exhaust is the thicker one. That feels good. That feels good. I like that one. Can live with that. These do not have to be crazy tight. I just kind of Try to get them even. I think that's good. I think she's ready for the dyno. And there it is. Well, here it is, the end of February, and it's time to put this on that. I'll include some video. I dug this out of the other barn back in December, figuring could do it then, and then the weather turned. And as you can assume, doing it indoors is not a good thing. If you got a vent pipe, that's another thing, but I don't. So I've just been waiting for a nicer day where I can have the door open to run this and have the exhaust on the outside world. And that's today. We are going to Dyno, Blaine's Super 88 diesel. I thought I'd plug in the block heater. I did test it real quick before I put it all together, and it's warming up, so it's working. And that's like the original style. I don't know if you can tell, but my cord, it's just got prongs sticking out of the heater. There's no cord to it. It's original. It's a pain in the butt, but it's original. Just the way they made them there at first. I've got one tractor that's got that, and yeah, it's kind of annoying to reach in there with a cord, but they figured it out after a while. So what's everybody think she's gonna make? This is an A&W dynamometer. It is the model 375, and they will do up to 400 horsepower on 1,000 RPM and up to 200 on 540. And it's pretty easy to read. As you'll see later in this, the inner scale is your low horsepower, and your upper scale is the high horsepower. And how you do that is depending on what RPMs you're using. You set this bar, and this load doohickey here, the oil out of that goes and pushes the gauge up. There's a brake drum inside here, and so as I turn the knobs down, that drum has more brake force applied to it, and so it wants to twist, except for it'll be going this way because it's 5-4 tractors, but it'll be wanting to twist this way, and so as it twists, it pushes down on this. That forces some oil up into the gauge and gives you a reading. And as we can see, we can test all sorts of RPMs, and depending on, I've got it set for 540. If I was reading the upper scale at 1,000, I would want to be all the way back over here. As it says, use this scale above 225 horsepower and this one below 225 horsepower. So you just, you could do an engine on it. You can test all the way up to 4,000 RPM on the high end. And engines turn the opposite direction of PTO. So all we do is take this bad boy and switch it with that one over there. And then if we want to test torque, we set this up here at the 12-inch position. And there's a procedure for reading that. You read the inner scale and you multiply by 10. So since they're so close, the torque is going to be pretty close to the horsepower on this, just because this thing I think is mostly set up for 540. But we have a jack because it's going to want a stand, whatever. It's going to want to twist this way as the tractor's turning it this way, as it resists turning. Water drain. This large compartment down here is just nothing but a water tank. When it gets filled up, the drum is just up here. You have to have it full to this point here. You can open this up, make sure water is coming out, so that way the drum is in water and being cooled, because like a brake that you are riding down a hill on, it's gonna get hot. But all that mass of that water, I can only guess, I don't know, that's probably more than a 55-gallon drum, but let's just say, easy math, 50 gallons in there, 8 pounds per gallon. That's what, 400 pounds extra to keep it from flipping, keep it in place. It's never a problem with anything I've run. I'm thinking on 400 horsepower, you know, it might be more of an issue. There's where the water goes in. And then I'll flip this up. There's basically a fire hose that comes out to let the water out once it gets full. Hook her up to the shaft. And then get her up to speed. We got a digital tach, which sometimes wants to read. The pickup can kind of be a little finicky these days. Get her up to speed, and I turn this one down to get close, and then I can fine tune with this knob here and pull it down until it's at 540 RPM, and that's where our horsepower is at. We can keep going down, the horsepower will go up, but there's a mathematical formula for figuring horsepower, and since we have the bar at 540, we have to run it down to 540 to read our horsepower. Anything less than that, it's starting to change, the math doesn't line up. So a lot of guys will say, oh my God, my tractor, you know, made 100 horsepower when it's only supposed to make 80, but they had to pull it down 500 RPM on the engine below rated speed, and the math no longer works out. It's just, trust me. We got a thermometer here to tell us the water temperature, and there's even it's a heat sensitive breaker there. And if the water gets over 180 degrees, the little tin piece that covers a plunger will rupture, and then that'll cut off the hydraulic flow to the brake and release it and let it cool. So now you know how to run a dynamometer, pretty much. This here, we pump this up until it says about 10 horsepower to pre-charge that cylinder. Then you back it off, and when it hits 0, you turn the knob back in. And I've already done that. I'll probably redo it. It only takes a second before we actually spin up. But that's the ins and outs. I think I'll do a little more washing here. Wipe off a little more Ophelia. Okay, we got water up to the minimum spot. Tractor's as warmed up as it's gonna get. It's been running for a few. I'm gonna put you like that. can hear me. Ain't been doing much better than about 46 horsepower. Now I'm beginning to wonder if something ain't quite right with the dyno, because even when I take her down past 540, the needle doesn't want to come up anymore, it seems like, and it should. Starting to come up. But yeah, I should respond a little more than that, I think. So our solution, get another Super 88 diesel to put on here and see what it turns. But I gotta say, this one turns smooth. But he had it balanced and I think blueprinted, but at least balanced. He went all out, was getting this engine rebuilt, and it runs that way. I mean, it just, that shaft there just turns so nice and true. It really is running good, other than just the numbers don't line up where we think they should. I mean, man, it barely smokes. It's under almost full load at this point. Letting mine warm up a little before we swap. But boy, it's probably, it's been at least an hour. Look. Oh yeah. And it's improved. It was down more like 42 when we started, now it's 46. Yeah, I'm starting to think something just ain't quite right with the dyno, whether it's the gauge, something else. I just serviced it a couple of years ago, but then didn't hardly use it since then. Well, if we get the same numbers for my Super 88, I think we'll be able to say it's doing what it's supposed to, and it's the dyno's what's throwing us off. Yeah, that's pretty much 538. Barely any smoke. Now mine should do better because, you know, it's wide front. It needs a bath. That's probably another horsepower right there. All that dirt holding the warm pin. Now she's starting to come off the peg. Well, we'll let this warm up just a little bit longer, and then we'll swap them out. So listen to that beautiful Oliver Waukesha sound. this, but it's pointing no way. I mean, it's saying it's only making about 20 horsepower. Something's definitely not right with the dyno. But if this one's making 20 and that one's making 46, it's doing good. This one definitely needs the RPMs turned up though. This should be more like around 590, just like the other one. It's still turning a little slow. Should be. Let's try her now. Those extra RPMs will be nice on the square baler. The thrower will work better. Exact same thing, about 47 horsepower. Something's just not reading right on the old dyno. Yeah, about the same amount of smoke, same amount of horsepower. Wonder what's going on with the dyno. We broke it. High power, broke the dyno. Hopefully you can hear me. We'll do a recap. Yeah, almost identical numbers. I think his sounds a little, I don't know, less or smoother. Mine's got a little bit more of a cackle, but he's also got the later Nelson muffler. I got the skinny one. That does make her sound a little louder, probably a little more back pressure. It's a Nelson. It's just the early Nelson, not the bigger free-flowing Nelson. get that extra horsepower from the wide front. Now right about the same, 47, 48. Getting warmed up. It's up in the operating anyways. You know, I didn't look in to see how much fuel is in there. Lots of fuel. She's fine. All right. Talk to Blaine again. And well, you know, 1600 engine is a little more than a Super 88 or, well, I thought what the heck, we'll see what it's turning. But I'm really starting to think it needs recalibrated. I recalibrated it a few years back, and now I'm starting to question previous readings. If they're only off by 5 horsepower on a, you know, big tractor that's turning 150, that don't seem as bad. But when you're only doing 47 and you should be doing, you know, up around 55, that starts seeming bad. So that's kind of where I'm at. But if this one is basically, it should be probably a little bit higher than those other two. If that's consistent, then yeah, we just got a bad reading on the dyno. It's not the tractors, and we'll just have to revisit recalibrating the dyno at some point in its life, maybe in warmer weather. Recalibrated. Well, as you can see, let's see, we had about 47 on this, about the same on my Super 88, and 52 on the 1600. So I am quite convinced my dyno needs recalibrated. But the fact that it's turning, you know, what it should be, whatever number that really is, makes me feel good. It definitely runs nice. It's smooth. Like I was saying earlier, Blaine went all out, had the crank, the whole rotating assembly balanced, and I can definitely tell it's got to be the smoothest running. And they always ran smooth, but this one just really really does well. And we're just letting the dyno drain. There's a lot of water in that to drain out. So hopefully you enjoyed watching us make some smoke, and we'll see you in the next one.